Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe if you have a friend, a colleague, relative, associate, enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. And this one's going to be a little bit different because usually on the weekend wrap, we kind of go through all the fights that took place over the weekend and talk about sort of where people go next and etc. etc. I'm going to make this one a bit more of a what happened over the weekend, sort of like the most interesting stories. I think that's correct because I've not watched a lot of the box. Like I've seen a lot of individual fights here and there, but in terms of the cards, I've not really studied or paid attention to everything. There was too much to go through. I've done 4 lives in the space of the last 17 hours, I would say, and I'm also extremely tired. So yeah, we're going to do this one a little bit different. We're going to just go to the main talking points of the weekend. So first things first, I guess we'll start with Callum Simpson against Ivan Zuko. Callum Simpson dropped twice in the bout. I was half watching it along with the Justice Huni and Fabio Wardley fight. I saw the first knockdown. I saw how the second one took place. It's funny, right? In Callum Simpson's previous fight, I had spoken of, I thought that he was rushing his work. I said on Twitter X at the time, Callum Simpson's fighting like he's trying to get himself knocked out. And he ended up getting the knockout, getting the stoppage in the fight, which was fine. But to me, there were still certain flaws and certain things I saw in that bout that I didn't like. And ultimately, those same issues and flaws took place in this very first round, which got him knocked down the first time. Then in the second and the third round, and even the fourth round, it was the same things. There was a lot of rushing the work. There was a lot of basically throwing shots from out of range, like not having your feet underneath you when you're throwing, almost like sort of basically putting yourself off balance, just being very sort of rash, erratic, and just trying to almost go for the gusto, which look makes for a totally entertaining fight but leaves you vulnerable. And against Ivan Zuko, that's exactly what happened in the first stanza of this fight. Now, I didn't watch the entire thing all the way through, so I can't give you breakdown by breakdown of how well he did or didn't do. But I saw all the way up until just when it ended. I believe it was in the 11th round when Callum Simpson got himself knocked down of Zuko, and the referee waved it off. Now, I've heard there's been a little bit of a controversy, or people outside saying, look, oh, Simpson gets dropped twice, fine, but as soon as Zuko gets dropped, he apparently got to his feet, and then the referee waves it off. Almost like, that hometown thing where, the hometown guys, he's managed to pull out the bag. Let's not take any more chances, kind of thing. I can't comment too much on it. Again, I didn't see it all. I can only give my thoughts generally on, I guess, what happened and what I heard happened. So based on that, I think that number one, Callum Simpson's got quite a bit to have to work through. He's got to tighten up the defense. He's got to stop being in a hurry to exchange, and he's definitely got to keep that chin tucked, because look, he's a 168. He's a big 168, so he will eventually be moving up to 175. They crack hard in both, but the power at 175 is going to be noticeably different. And at 175, he won't be a big 175 pounder. He'll be a regular sized one. So if he doesn't tighten up on some of those defensive frailties, that could be a problem moving forward. Then moving over to the Queensbury card. Actually, if I haven't seen it, I haven't managed to watch it yet, but shout out to Tony Pugilist Boy, said that watching the Mark Jeffers and Sean Hemphill fight, he said that was definitely worth watching. He said it was a barn burner. So I saw like 30 seconds, I think, of the 10th round of that fight at the time. So yeah, check that one out. But moving over to the fight that took place in Ipswich between Fabio Wardley, Justice Hooney. The entire undercard I didn't watch any of, apart from Pierce O'Leary and Liam Dillon, which was the chief support. I'll say that it was a fight whereby Liam Dillon was very tough. They didn't really look around where Pierce O'Leary did any big damage, and even though Pierce O'Leary was kind of winning the fight comfortably, it's almost like the power that we thought he had initially, hence the name Big Bang, it didn't really seem to translate too well. Liam Dillon moving up in weight, to 140 pounds, he didn't really seem to be bothered and affected. Granted, he's probably got a very good chin because he's never been dropped or stopped in any of his fights, but yeah, it's just it was one of those fights where it was very repetitive, round after round, didn't really change much. But Pierce O'Leary did get the decision, which was the correct decision because he did win, but it just wasn't like a great spectacle to watch. However, moving to the main event, which was Fabio Wardley and Justice Hooney, and that was I won't say it was a great spectacle to watch, but it was a very engaging fight. Look, first round, you can clearly see the difference in boxing ability, boxing skills, techniques, speed, everything. Justice Hooney had a very, very good defense. He had a very good high guard for the majority of the first half of this fight. Kept the arms up, went to try and parry each side anytime something came in from Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley had an awful defense in this bout. He's had bad defenses before, but I think he's never faced anyone as quick as Justice Hooney with the hands, and I think that exacerbated the fact that Fabio Wardley has a very bad leaky defense. First things first, he does the lead hand low carry, which is fine, from distance. When you're at long range, especially if you're the guy with the much longer arms and reach, it's good to have a lead low hand so that the person can't see it. It won't be in their direct peripheral vision and won't be in their direct line of view. So when you bring that shot up, more time than not, they may miss it or miss until it's too late because it's not one of the first things they see. But that works from long range. You don't carry your lead hand low from mid-range or inside. And that's what Fabio Wardley was doing constantly from the first round all the way to when the fight stopped. Now we'll talk about that in a minute. Secondly, his backhand. So his right hand, he carries his lead hand basically by his knee, and he carries his backhand basically touching his chest bone. And neither does anything to protect you from taking punches. It's almost like he relies on his athleticism to get him out of the way of a shot rather than to be able to block a shot. Because at no point did I really see him in that high guard sort of trying to slip parry and block shot. Everything was always trying to exit back, but every time he exits back in straight lines. Justice Hooney was reading this at all times. Justice Hooney was reading the soft pouring jab that Fabio was trying to throw out there to throw out the backhand. He was pretty much seeing everything, slipping most of it, blocking most of it. Hooney was putting on a boxing clinic, and not just a boxing clinic, he was putting on a clinic in brutality from rounds 1 to 9. I won't go through each individual round because they pretty much played out the same, except for the fact that from about the third round to the fourth round onwards, Fabio Wardley, one thing is he doesn't have a very good poker face. You can tell when he's either in distress, in desperation, in rage mode, or like is gassing, like he's really feeling the pace. Like you could see him taking the deep breaths quite visibly. You could see on his face that he wasn't comfortable with the pace of how the fight was going, or when a shot would land. Everything was very telling that, okay, I'm not saying that I'm in trouble to the point where I'm about to get stopped, but I'm not enjoying this. when the body shots went in, like he would almost fold over half the time in some of these shots, and then he would go and hold and try to push Hooney back, who would also, you know, be able to be in the pocket, moving Fabio back as well until the ref breaks him up. The whole fight basically looked like desperation city for Fabio Wardley. It looked, you know, 9 rounds down. To me, I gave Justice Hooney a clean sweep all 9 rounds up until when the fight's about to stop, in the 10th. And at that point, you just wonder, okay, is Hooney about to stop Fabio? Is Fabio going to get pulled out of this fight? Like, is it just going to be another 2 or 3 rounds of a straight beating? Because at this point, Fabio is eating shots. He's eating big right hands, straight down the pipe. He's eating 1-2 combinations. He's zoning off, dipping down constantly into left hooks, which really should be hitting his body, which ended up clapping him in the face, because he's doing the same dip down and the same tail each time. Now you can tell that's muscle memory. That's his survival instinct. But he has no. It's almost like he's got no reprogramming to be able to do things on the fly that don't put him in jeopardy. There's a lot of times he puts himself in the line of fire to be hit, rather than, you know, thinking, okay, if I go this way, I'm going to get hit again. And it just happened round after round after round, to the point where, if we're going to be honest, after, say, I think round 3, the fight didn't even look competitive. I don't really remember much shots that Fabio landed. And even if you look at Justice Hooney's face, yeah, it was kind of marked up, but a lot of the shots that or the markings came from his own gloves, like blocking shots. There was a couple decent ones that got through, but you just thought they should really pull him out of this for his own safety. Now, obviously, they would have done that because it's Ipswich, it's Portman Road. Like, he got to allow him to go out on his shield. He would say that you do not stop this fight in my home city, at my football grounds, my football team's grounds. Like, you let me, for lack of a better word, you let me pass away in this ring. And that mentality is, you know, is to be commended. It's admirable, but it's also something that's going to get him badly hurt. Especially without being able to address that defense, and address the lack of defense and the lack of suitable, just suitable ring craft and ring IQ. But ultimately, he pulled it out of the bag. He did what he said. You've got to be perfect for 12 rounds. I've only got to be perfect for 1 second. And I don't like that statement, because ultimately that means that more time than not, you are just predicting that you've got a punch that will change the game. Well, Justice Hooney showed us that there's times when that may not be the case, and this was one of those times, up until that 10th round. Now look, that was literally a case of Justice Hooney switching. It wasn't even the fact he switched off. I can't even say he switched off. He just took a gamble. He took a risk at that moment. Maybe a youthful exuberance, a bit of a impetuousness that he didn't need to take in that particular moment, and he got caught. Fabio he basically just threw a shot. I don't think he was thinking about setting that shot up. He hadn't attempted anything like that in the fight before. It was just, he saw Justice Hooney coming, and against everything, he just said, okay, I just need to, almost like, okay, get away, let's just see what happens. He managed to get his head off the line, through his shot as Justice was barreling forward on his one. Justice obviously coming over his front foot, so he didn't bring his feet with him when he threw his shot, meaning that the impact was doubled at the moment of that very short, it wasn't even an overhand really. I don't even know what kind of shot you call it, but it was a very short right hand that hit him straight on the chin, on the button. Some good torque in it from Fabio, from his body, but putting all of Justice's body weight behind it, bang, he goes straight down onto the canvas. But his eyes are open, clear-eyed. You can see he starts to get up, and it looked at that moment as if John Latham was in a hurry to go home, because he picked up the count from 5. from the timekeeper, which obviously you know that the referee picks up the count from the timekeeper once he acknowledges what count it is. But from the moment he picked it up, he did not give Justice Hooney any moment to breathe. It was like you heard the timekeeper, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's when he picked it up. Then 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, to me, I when I was counting, and look, I know that it's not a 10-second count. I want people to understand this. It's a referee's 10 count, so the 10 count is at their discretion. But even if it was a 10-second count, so to speak, like that count to me, I feel ended 8.5 seconds. When I was counting it out in my head from the moment that Justice Hooney's back hit the floor to the moment where he got up, it appeared to me to be about 8.5 seconds. Now, in the UK, I believe that they have a rule where if you're not on your feet by the count of 8, ready to show that you're ready to go, that the referee will wave it off. But I've never liked that particular ruling, especially over here, because they give you a standing 8 count regardless, right? So even if you get up on 3, they'll count you until 8 and then assess you and say, are you okay? Well, at this point in time, if it's a 10 count, if you beat the 10 count, you should be given the opportunity to either carry on or have the referee assess you in that moment to see, okay, are you good to go? Ask the question, can you continue? Yes. Look at the eyes. All right, if you have to, walk that way, all of the things that they normally do to make sure that you're okay. Like, if you beat the 10 count, that should be the case. Justice Hooney beat the 10 count, even the very fast 10 count. He was up on his feet at 9.25. So you didn't get the chance to count 10, but you're very quick to wave it off. And I literally think that's only because Fabio Wardley was so far behind on the cards. If he didn't get him out of there, which there's no guarantee he would have at that point, because let's not forget, Fabio Wardley was mad tired. He could barely move around the ring at this point. He was, sucking in deep breaths of air. His face was mashed up. He had been taking a proper beating for the last 9 rounds. So there's no guarantee that he's going to throw a big barrage of punches and, ultimately knock out Justice Hooney. He might have, but there's no guarantee he would have done it because it's the 10th round. He's super tired. And if anything, Justice Hooney is actually the more fresher of the two, taken the less amount of punishment. And he was at no worse 7 rounds up in that fight going into the 10th round. I had him winning 9 rounds, but that ultimately means of the 9 rounds I had him winning, Fabio Wardley can only win the next 3. So the only way that he can win this fight is either by knockout or maybe knocking Justice down twice a round for the next 3 rounds, and you might just about scrape it on the cards, or you get a draw or something, or it'll be very, very close. That was the best scenario, but you have to be able to let that play out. If it was a nip and tuck fight where maybe Hooney was a round up rather than 7 or 8 rounds up at the time, or 9 as I had it, then all right, I can understand. Okay, wave it off because it's dangerous, and this probably means that he can't win the fight now. Look for his safety. In this instance, I think John Latham was doing the hometown favors. Obviously, I can't accuse anyone of anything, but it's very rare that a Frank Warren fighter will get, I guess will not get that kind of special consideration as the A side of a fight, especially considering that it's a stadium fight in one of those locations. But I want to preface everything I'm saying by ultimately Fabio Wardley did the work, and he deserves the credit for being able to find that shot even after being like out on his feet basically for the 6 rounds prior to that. So nothing I'm saying in terms of the way that the fight ended has any reflection on Fabio Wardley. Although I guess there has been previous with Fabio when it comes to this sort of thing. Like the Eric Molina fight kind of comes to mind, and I know that was a moment of contention, especially amongst the undefeated podcast community, where I think they had decided to wash their hands of Fabio at the time. He brought him back around. I give him that. But yeah, it's it's a really bad situation for Justice Hooney in that moment. This is one of those rare instances where, stock rises in the defeat and whatnot. I try not to play into giving people too much credit for losing, or losing in a spirited effort or whatever, because a loss is a loss. It doesn't define your career. Like, you can learn from losses, but ultimately, whatever ranking he had as the WBO number one, he's obviously gonna drop quite a few steps down the ladder, which means this is going to take him a lot further away from his path of wanting to be a world champion and be in those big fights. But I guarantee that he will get big fights after this. The hope should be that he should be allowed to have one or two rebuilding fights, maybe even two or three rebuilding fights with good level of opposition, but maybe just not the guys in the top 10 just for the moment. He's 26. Let him build. Let him try to work on that delivery system for the power. Because if his power was better, whether he has to sit down on his shots a bit more, whether he has to be a bit more accurate with them, maybe slow down the combinations, whatever it is, he has the tools to do well if he can sort out the power. If he had Fabio Wardley's power, he would probably be like one of the best heavyweight prospects slash contenders around right now, because he's got everything else in his locker. It's just the power that's potentially an issue. But credit to him, and again, credit for him. Like, he got up the same way that I said that, Joseph Parker, he, even though he got knocked out by Joe Joyce, ill, beaten up for 9 rounds and everything, he still got to his feet before the referee counted 10, but it was just waved off because of this 8 count rule that they have in the UK. And honestly, I think that needs to change. If you're counting, count the full 10. Like, wait, if the person gets up before you've counted 10, assess them, then decide if you're going to wave it off or not. You don't have to wave it off just because they haven't hit their feet instantly at the count of 8. I disagree with that. It robs people of that opportunity to get that one last breath, because you can tell if someone's just trying to ride the count out before getting up, as opposed to someone who's doing everything they can to get up, or is just trying to get as much recovery into them at that time. You can tell it's in their body language, just the way that they're moving. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm gonna leave that one. I disagree with the way it was stopped. I disagree with the count. I think the count was extremely fast. And my thing is also, if you're going to do this, if you have to be up by the count of 8, well then if that's the case, you shouldn't be doing it basing it on maybe a 10-second count. You should be doing it based on, okay, your own count itself, because you're robbing someone of 2 additional seconds to compose themselves, or 1 and a bit additional seconds, I suppose. But look, that's my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think down below. Happy to be told I'm wrong. But it's always frustrating when something like that happens. And obviously, I guess if people want to call me Team Tasman or whatever, I respect and I rate Justice. I rate Fabio. I think though, after watching this fight, the only way Fabio wins a world title is with very creative matchmaking, and it will be vacant. And that's only because of maybe having that puncher's chance. The defense is not good enough to beat the guys in the top 5, top 6, top 7 of the division. And he will get found out if he doesn't correct all of that stuff. Now, this is things that have not been ingrained in him from young, so it's going to be difficult, but he's got to fix that. And whether that means he's got to leave sort of Ben Davison and Lee Wiley and go to a trainer that teaches the solid fundamentals of boxing, maybe he needs to just work with a defensive specialist moving forward, because the power is not always going to be able to bail you out, but the defense is going to at least prevent you from having to take a beating in these fights when you're stepping up levels. It's okay having that lead low hand and everything when you're fighting the lesser known guys on the British or the English level fighters. But when you get into that European to that world level, those things that you're doing, it can only last for so long. And I want him to correct that stuff because he's got a lot of potential to be a very big star over here. But shout out to Fabio Wardley and shout out to Justice Huni because they put on a very fun, entertaining, at moments brutal fight for the public. Then we go over to the States where it should have been Keyshawn Davis versus Edwin De Los Santos. I put my prediction out where obviously I was very upset and disappointed with Keyshawn Davis for coming in 4.3 pounds overweight, meaning that he definitely did not try to make the weight. And that's, I said, oh, he's gonna destroy Edwin De Los Santos, but it's gonna be a tainted victory because you've depleted this guy, and now you know, ultimately you're not depleted, a la Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. But it didn't even get to that point because Edwin De Los Santos, Samson Lukowicz said, no, we're not fighting, because Samson said he felt the back of Keyshawn Davis and it was bone dry, meaning that he didn't even attempt to make weight in the morning. He went in there with the game plan of coming in heavy against Edwin De Los Santos. He intentionally tried to disadvantage him and was prepared to lose his belt on the scales, knowing that he was about to move up anyway. I think that's disgusting behavior. He signed the contract, and the contract said to make £135, and you chose to disregard that. If I was Bob Arum, no word of a lie, I'd actually sue him for the money it took to put on the event, based on the projection of the numbers that it was supposed to make on the ticket sales and everything like that. There was a bunch of people that I think over 2,000 people asked for their money back. So it went from being like a 10 or 12,000 sellout, I think, to only about 8,000 people being in attendance or something. That would have been a hit to the show. If I was Aram, I would sue for that, because your contract stated you were supposed to do this, which now realistically was about to generate me this money. I've now lost that money due to something outside of my control, and you've not even tried to take any accountability for it. So to me, yeah, I think it was deplorable to do so. I'm actually glad that Edwin De Los Santos didn't go through with the fight, because there's no reason to give him that kind of advantage, especially in his home city, where that whether it's the judges, like whether they've been favored to look for him to do certain things, like you're gonna side with the hometown fighter because you think that's where your next set of work is gonna come from. I understand that, so I'm not mad at Edwin De Los Santos for skipping out on that fight at all, and the fact he got given his entire purse for the trouble, brilliant. Keyshawn Davis was supposed to make about $1 million in that fight. He didn't make that million. He lost that. Good, serves him right. Then you go into the arena. You would think, okay, keep a low profile. Yeah, cool. Like, go and support your brothers and everything. But he's there in the crowd, laughing and joking, like eating popcorn and other foods that ain't exactly healthy, considering that you just missed weight. Like, if you made the weight, cool, eat what you want. But right now, at least give the optics, like, all right, I'm sorry for you guys. Remember, these people are his hometowns people, several of which have asked for their money back now. At least look like you're remorseful to these people that have, given up their time and to come and support you or stuff. No accountability whatsoever. And then his older brother Kelvin Davis gets beat by Nahir Albright, a majority decision. It should have been a unanimous. Nahir, I predicted that Kelvin would win on points. Nahir Albright did better than I expected in the fight. He deserved his plaudits, only for then Keyshawn and Keon Davis to accost him in his changing room. For what? He's in his dressing room not bothering nobody, and you man are going in there trying to beat him up, two man up, like 2-1, jumping him, headbutt. Like, I saw the head. He said that Keyshawn hit him with a headbutt and everything. Then it spills out again to the outside. Well, I'm guessing maybe some of Nahir Albright's people or his security obviously get involved. Then you've got Keyshawn and that causing ruckus in the in the hallways. Bernie and Keyshawn's got his 2-year-old son in the stroller in the line of fire, because you don't know if someone decided to dash a bin at him or something, and it misses him, licks the child or licks his child's mother, or an innocent bystander, because you guys have caused a madness in the changing rooms for no reason. All of it, I've said it a couple of times, I'm going to say it again. There is something wrong with this generation's Americans, and maybe even the generation before, but there is this mad self-destruct culture of, I can be that superstar. Keyshawn Davis had the ability to be the next big American superstar. He was well spoken. He's great in the ring to watch. He's got a good support system. He's very marketable, and he's got the look of a guy that you want to get behind. Yet every time you think that he's about to hit that cusp, he does something stupid to fuck it up. First, we had the failed drugs test when he fought Nahir Albright, sorry, where all right, it wasn't performance enhancing drugs he failed for. He failed for cannabis. He failed for weed. But again, he got a victory taken off of his record into a no contest. I think he got fined as well. And I'm not sure if they gave him a 3 month or a 6 month suspension, or if they just changed it from a win to a no contest. But that's one thing. So that's a taint on your record now. Now you're in your home city. You made 135 about 4 months ago. So how have you gone to make it 4 months ago, but this time you can't even get within a pound of being that weight? Maybe you did outgrow 135 as a whole, but you're supposed to do whatever it takes to either get down there or get as close to down there as possible. And if not, tell the other team. Like, you could have pulled out of the fight 2 weeks ago, saying, "Rah, like, my check weight's supposed to be here, but I'm here. I can't make the balance. Like, I've got to withdraw from this fight, or we've got to reschedule, or I've got to relinquish the belt and let Edwin De Los Santos take on someone else for that." So yeah, a lot of it just totally reeks of self-destruct behavior, classless, like dickhead, all any bad word I could say right now. There's a lot I could say for it, but I'm gonna leave that there, because I'm off the Keyshawn Davis train. And the thing is, I'm not a person. I don't care what someone's like out of the ring. I don't care if you're a dickhead outside the ring. I don't care if you're the best guy outside the ring. I like what you do in the ring, yeah. But when I see this, that tells me that what you do in the ring at times now is a mirage, because you are intentionally trying to gain unfair advantages against your opponents, which, be a dickhead all you want, but be professional. Once you stop being professional, that's when I can't really rock with you. And so yeah, he may be able to win me back over down the line, but I don't know, because I've seen your character right now on multiple occasions, and at times I thought, okay, there was, you blame it on the mental health struggles and whatnot. Now it's just, okay, no, this is just what you are like. This is your character. I've seen it on several occasions. I don't particularly like how he's moving, both in and outside the ring. I didn't see the full press conference, but even him really getting aggy with Abdullah Mason, all because the guy basically wants to come and challenge him later on, down the line for the belt. Like, that's what Abdullah's supposed to do. Shout out to Abdullah Mason as well. Became the main event of the card against Jeremiah Nekatila, and I think he even got a bit of an increase on his pay packet for then having to be the main event. So yeah, God works in mysterious ways. Abdullah Mason, he's a very, if you're gonna be someone that invests in people's characters and their skills outside the ring, he's definitely a person you can get behind. Speaks very well, has a very grounded family, 21 years old, Never seen him out of pocket. Never seen him rude, disrespectful, or anything like that. Takes his craft perfectly serious. Doesn't drink. Looks like he barely eats any junk food. Very disciplined. Him, his dad, his brothers are a credit to the sport from everything that I've seen, and he's someone that I will definitely be happy to put my stock in as an all-round complete person and fighter, if we're going to go sort of down that total package narrative. And hopefully he can stay on the straight and narrow and not fall into the same traps that a lot of these other guys seem to be doing, because again, that self-destruct gene in American fighters is strong, and I don't understand why. But yeah, to summarize, also before I shout out to Kelvin Davis, who is the oldest brother of the three, because he's the one that lost the fight. Yet he's the one that was trying to stop Keyshawn and Keon. I guess maybe from the hallway part. Maybe I guess he wasn't in the locker room himself. Or maybe he was. I'm not sure about that part. But I know that, even they hear Albright said, no, Kelvin was the one. He was trying to stop it all, saying like, this ain't right. We don't need to be doing this. So shout out to him for keeping a clear head and obviously, accepting the defeat in good grace. But yeah, as for Keyshawn, like, no respect, all respect lost. And Keon, I won't even say much. Like, Keon's young and impressionable and probably just trying to impress his older brothers. But by doing that again, that's still he's still got a lot to learn, a long way to go. So jury's out on him. Keyshawn, all stock dropped. Kelvin, all right, cool, lost, but at least you're at least he was a man about it. So I'll respect him for that. Yeah, moving on from there, I didn't get to see the Junta Nakatani against Rasuke Nishida, but I've heard obviously that he won 7th round KO. I think it was stopped due to very bad swelling of Nishida's eye. I want to see the fight. I'm disappointed that Sky Sports didn't pick it up. I'm disappointed that I couldn't get it on. I don't have an ESPN feed, and I was trying to find some streams for it. Didn't work out, but there, I know Tenshin Nasukawa was on the undercard. I still don't even know the result of that fight. So yeah, I will reserve judgment for that. Probably a casual stream. I'll talk about any fights that I've missed out. Shout out to Beatrice Ferreira, who beat Maria Ines Ferreira. No, sorry, she's Ferreira and the other one's Ferreira. But yeah, that I saw most of the fight. She pretty dominant by Beatrice. I did think that she would get a stoppage in that fight. I expected Maria to try to basically throw with her, and in doing so get caught and double impacted, but didn't seem to happen. So shout out to her. Pri Howlin lost to Naomi Cardenas, which I wasn't expecting, but I did say that there was a scenario where I could see it potentially happening because of the swarming nature of Cardenas, but I thought Brie Howlin would have the power to sort of overthrow that. But it was more just a case of, because Cardenas was just throwing 3, 4, 5, 6 shots at a time, 2 or 3 of them would land to every one that Howlin threw, and because there wasn't a significant difference in power between the two, the person who landed 3 shots has to win that exchange. So yeah, but she'll come back, I'm pretty sure. 27 against Cardenas, who I think is 25. So they, there's all to play for both. We'll see how both of them move on. And then the Tasman Fighters card. Now I was very critical of this card when we was doing the basis picks live for the undercard. The only fight that I didn't really have much to say about was the Conor Wallace and Dylan Collin fight. Just I didn't really know much about Dylan Collin, but even he didn't end up fighting on the card. But Tero Moana, his opponent, which was something like 3-7 or like 3-9-1 or something like that, and he's 7-0 at this point. You should be fighting better level of opposition than that. What was her name? Maria, I think it was her name, Maria May. She was fighting, I can't remember the girl's name, but the girl was like 1-1-1. She was 9-0-1. And it's like she'd already fought her and beat her previously, and then you're fighting her again. I think it was not the next fight. It was the fight. It was there was like one fight in between. It's like why is why is this the matchmaking? Then we go to the main event: Jai Opetaia versus Claudio Squeo, who's miraculously ended up being number 14 in the IBF rankings. But there was just so much better opposition that you could have had, even if you're just taking it as a keep busy fight. There's better opposition that you could have kept busy with. Guys that whether either they speak English or they've got common opponents with other well-known names. I can understand maybe Leonardo Mosquera is too difficult a fight when you're trying to look towards a unification bout. Because Mosquera 16-0 beat Chef Clark in his last fight to win the European title. Okay, cool. Maybe he's not the one, but Yves Ngarbu, obviously good fighter, but been beat by Lawrence Okoli at cruiserweight previously. Mateus Masternak, Michel Sislak, like these are guys with name value and recognition because people like Chris Billum Smith and Lawrence Okoli have fought them, and obviously they were the former champions. There were just so many other better names or names of note that you could have, fought. And when I saw the record, 17-0 with 9 KOs, and the size of it, I just knew, okay, this, I can understand having a showcase fight, but at least make it look like there's some jeopardy. This is a guy, Claudio Square, who's known for coming forward at all times. He's basically just, I watched the highlights. So as soon as I watched the highlights, I knew this was, not even was it a mismatch, it was a joke of a fight. Like he has no technique. He's got no defense, no movement. He's just a sitting target, basically. And to the point where his best bet was to come forward and barrel forward. He tried to come forward in the first round. From the end of the first round on, he's on his bike. He don't know how to box going backwards. Just taking shots at will at this. But realistically, the only time he even landed anything was when basically Jai allowed him to do so. And then Jai ends up breaking his jaw in the 5th round. He goes down and gets counted out by the referee. It just, don't get me wrong, Jai did what he needed to do, but you could tell even he was upset with the level of opposition. The one good thing about him is he trains the same whether you're the guy, whether you're a guy that's just coming off the street or whether you're a world champion. Like, he's not taking his eye off the ball because he knows what he needs to do. But I can tell at the end of that fight, he was upset that the guy didn't show or prove or provide anything to him. I can tell his mindset. I can tell how he thinks at times. And that's definitely, to me, he shows respect to the guy for even going in the ring with him. But he's like, I need better than this. And hopefully his next fight will be better than that. Again, this is no discredit to him, or this is no slight on him. He didn't choose that opponent. But I just feel like, especially if it being I think it was a pay-per-view event over in Australia, they could have done with a better name or a more recognizable name, or at the very least, if you're not going to get like a big recognizable, try and get someone that speaks English at least to try and drum up a bit more intrigue. Maybe have a little spicy back and forth to make it feel as if, oh, this could be a fight of some note. But yeah, look, it was what it was. Jai Opetaia, he's still the apex predator of that cruiserweight division, and as he said in the ring quite rightly, you are not the best until you beat me, and he's got that Ring Magazine belt to prove it. So yeah, Zurdo Ramirez, Badu Jack, or Noel Gavor if he wins that rematch, Ryan Rosicki when he gets involved, whoever, or Dorticus, I guess, if he beats Zurdo. Like, you got to see the guy. Like, he is the kingpin, he is the boss, like, he is the Thanos. Like, you got to see him if you want your life back. That's how that's how it's playing out. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Shout out to everyone who tuned into all the watch-alongs, especially a bunch of the new Australian fans that I seem to have made from the Samoan Islands and New Zealand. Everyone who tuned into my watch-along with Opetaia and Square. It from the last thing I saw, it did over 5,500 views on YouTube. and probably quite a bit on Twitter as well. So thank you all to you, and I hope that you guys enjoy the channel. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. It's been a very long weekend. I need to recharge. I need to decide if I'm going to go gym tonight. But yeah, look, much love and respect to all of you. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. If you've made it this far, you're a legend. But for right now, I am going to leave it there. That's the weekend wrapped up, and I'll catch you on the next one. But until then, peace.